Hey there everyone, it's your good friend Eric Thompson. In this video, I am going to show you the very best way that I know of to help you get listings. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, a big warm welcome to you. Be sure to subscribe so that you get more helpful videos just like this one. And if you do find this to be helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, give it a like, so that helps me out. I appreciate that. Okay, now let's help you. What I know about you, what I know about my realtor friends is that most of you want more listings, all right? So you sit around and say, you know what? It sure would be great if I were to have more listings. You want to help more sellers. So I'm going to help you do that, or I'm going to help you to have the one proven, surefire way to help you to attract more listings where you never have to be pushy and cheesy and salesy. One thing I'll tell you, based on all the realtors that I talked to about this, is that most of you overthink this, all right? Most of you overcomplicate this. Let's make this very simple. Let's make this very, very straightforward. All right, I'm gonna give you that one strategy, and first I want you to think about, let's consider, what are your options? All right, so when you say to yourself, gosh, it sure would be nice to get more listings, what are your options? Well, the first option would be that you could buy leads. All right, lots of different places where you could buy leads, but you know what? That tends to be painful. It tends to be expensive, right? So maybe that's not the best way. Another thing you could do is you could farm, right? You could farm a neighborhood where you're sending postcard after postcard after postcard into the neighborhood. But you know what is true about farming? It takes a long time. It also can get really, really expensive. What else could you do? Well, you could either door knock or cold call. But that, my friends, for most people is excruciating. Most people find that to be really, really hard. Most people are not cut out for door knocking and cold calling. What else could you do? Well, you could just wait. You could wait around for the phone to ring, for the email to come in, for the text to come in. You could wait. Now, it's great when that happens, but we're not going to totally rely on that. We're not just going to sit around and wait. What we're going to do is we are going to be proactive. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to think about what would need to happen right before the seller says to you, hey, would you help me to sell my property? Like, what would be the things leading up to that? Like, what would happen before they ask you for your help? See, that's a piece, that's a part of the process that a lot of people miss thinking about. Like, let's take time to really consider what would need to happen before that. So what would happen before that is that you would be actually talking to a property owner, okay? So you would be sitting down, having a nice, very pleasant conversation with someone who owns their real estate. And that conversation would be what? It'd be interesting. It would be valuable to them. So they would be sitting there going, this is really interesting, and this is also a valuable conversation. They would not feel like it's a sales pitch. They would not feel like they're put under pressure to sell their home. They would not feel like this is salesy or pushy or cheesy. They would say, this is a really interesting, valuable conversation. That is what we need to think about. Let's think about how we can create that kind of conversation instead of just pouring all of our energy into spinning our wheels and thinking about, oh my gosh, how am I going to get more sellers? Let's put our energy into how can I have some really good conversations with some property owners about their property that they find to be interesting and also valuable. I'm going to show you how to do that. To really make this point, I'm going to use a metaphor. I'm going to get you to think about something. I want you to think about you back in high school. All right, so go back in the day when you were in high school, and I would guess that there was someone in high school that you wanted to go on a date with. Okay, so can you think about someone in high school that you really wanted to go on a date with, right? So maybe you had a crush on this person and you're thinking, boy, it sure would be nice, it'd be fun to go on a date with that person. So instead of you just overthinking, gosh, it would be nice to go on a date with this person, what if you were to think about, okay, what would need to happen before the date? Like, what would actually need to happen? Well, what would need to happen is that you would need to be having a conversation with the person. Like, you would actually need to talk to the person, and you would need to be talking to the person in a way where they found it to be enjoyable, where they found it to be interesting. Maybe they even found it to be funny. They really enjoyed your company. They're getting to know you. Like, that's what would need to happen. So you would actually need to talk to the person so that you had the chance to ask them out on a date, all right? So that's what would need to happen before. Same goes with the seller. Like, you need to have a conversation with the seller about their property that they find to be interesting, that they find to be valuable, where it does not feel like a sales pitch. So now, guys, it begs the question, so how do you do that? I'm guessing that's what you're wondering. You're like, okay, Eric, I get it. How do I do that? How can I create a time where I'm talking to a property owner about their property and they find it to be interesting, they find it to be valuable? I'll tell you how. It's called a property review, okay? So I have, my friends, an example right here, okay? So this is a property review, all right? So this is a property review for one of my neighbors, and what is it? It's just a snapshot, it's a picture, it's a quick summary of what's going on in their neighborhood. It's just a boiled down, condensed version of a CMA, right? So it's a very quick, to the point report on what is going on with their property. And what would happen if you did 2 of these a week? And what would happen if you sat down with people and went through this with them? So what's in it? Well, it's a summary of their own property. It shows on a map recent sales in their neighborhood, where you can make some interesting points about these sales in their neighborhood. And then what does it do? It gives a summary of those sales, the sales price, the bedrooms and baths, the square footage, how long it was on the market, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not 30 pages long, it's like 6 pages long. So how could you do this? How could you deliver this to a seller? Well, you could sit down with them one-on-one, face-to-face, like over coffee or lunch, and you could hand it to them. You could say, hey, knowing we were getting together, I went ahead and put this report together for you. I thought you would find it interesting. Lots of people are wondering about what's going on with their real estate nowadays. That's why I put this together. You could send it to them in the mail and then follow it up with a phone call. You could drop it off on their doorstep and then follow it up with a phone call. But bottom line, guys, that's the way to do it, all right? That is the way to do it. What you want to do is you want to put together reports just like that one. They're quick snapshots, they're valuable, they're interesting. Get it into their hands. Talk to them about it. And you never have to say to them, hey, so do you want to sell? Hey, are you thinking about selling anytime soon? You never have to say that. But what does happen, guys, when you do enough of these, and again, you only have to do 2 a week. When you do enough of these, what will happen is this. They will say to you things like, oh my gosh, it's so interesting that you're giving this to me. It's so interesting that we're having this conversation, because actually we are thinking about selling. It's so interesting you're giving this to me because actually my good friend, he is thinking about selling. My coworker, she's thinking about selling. My sister, she's thinking about selling. Anything like that will come up, but you need to just have the conversation first. Have it in a cool, not pushy, not cheesy way. Have it in a value add way. Put together a really interesting report, a snapshot of what's going on in their neighborhood. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. You have all kinds of different platforms and programs available to you to put that together. You have RPR, you have your MLS, maybe your company has its own presentation software. It doesn't matter. Just put together a nice little snapshot of what's going on in their neighborhood. Put a nice cover letter attached to it. Just say in that cover letter, I put this together because people are very curious to know what's going on in their real estate. And this is what I think about your real estate. This is the value I think it would be worth today. I thought this information would be interesting to you. I'll follow up and see what questions you have. I realize you may not even be thinking about selling anytime soon, and that's completely fine. I just want you to have this information so that you have a good understanding of what your property is worth. Guys, it is that simple. Can you do that? Yes, you can do that. You can totally do that. Do 2 of those a week. And guys, what I'll tell you is that you will have all the listings you could ever want. What I will tell you is based on all the realtors that I work with, all the coaching that I do, all the training that I do, that what I just showed you is by far the best strategy on the planet. I promise you, I guarantee you, it's the very best thing you could do. Okay, again, if you find videos like this to be valuable, please subscribe. Also, if you liked it, then like it. Give it a thumbs up. That helps me out. Hit subscribe so that you get more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for engaging with this one. I so look forward to seeing you in the next video.